Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In this video we're talking about Nintendo DS, PlayStation Vita, NES, Proton, and some gaming leaks. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off here with a relatively heavy hitter. We're talking about PlayStation Vita emulation on Android with Vita3k. MacDo is keeping their foot firmly on the development gas pedal for this emulator. They've got Mortal Kombat 9 up and running. So here's the actual footage of MK9 up and running, and as you can see it is running a little bit slow. It's less than 20 frames per second for the most part here. I would argue it averages between 11 and 19, although there are some parts that do get over 20 frames per second. The big story here is how everything is rendering and the fact that it's actually playable. The background looks great, the foreground looks great. It's only a matter of time here before MacDo can get this running at full speed. It's also worth pointing out that at this point in time there's no Vita3k APK out there at all. MacDo is the only person with a copy of this. MacDo is developing it, they haven't released it to the public at all yet. So if you see a Vita3k for Android emulator out there, it's not real. MacDo's got the only copy. MacDo will release it when it's ready, so just be patient. Next up, we're talking about Nintendo DS emulation on Android, and Pizza Boy has confirmed they're making a brand new Nintendo DS emulator. At this point in time, development is still in early stages and not a whole lot is running on it just yet, but I'm extremely excited to be getting another DS emulator. I'm pretty certain it's going to be called Pizza DS, and for those of you wondering about DSi games, I do have some bad news. The developer says no, we'll see it in a not foreseeable future, so it's going to be a long time if ever. Next up here, we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation and Bayonetta 3, and I've got some great news for you. So yesterday I shared some great news for NVIDIA users, and today I'm sharing some great news for AMD users. If you're trying to emulate Bayonetta 3 on Ryujinx, if you've got an AMD graphics card, you can now play it. As of version 1.1.332, the game no longer crashes in Chapter 1 on AMD. There are still a few known issues though. God rays cover the screen in certain areas. On NVIDIA, they say to use driver version 5.16 or 5.17 to avoid this. Texture recompression is required to avoid running out of VRAM. Enable it if you run into an out-of-device memory crash. And cutscene audio can desync. There's no solution for that as of yet. So at the time of filming, the latest version of Ryujinx is version 1.1.334, and to make sure you're set up and ready to go for Bayonetta 3, go into your settings, go into the graphics tab, and make sure the graphics backend is set to Vulkan. On top of that, make sure Enable Texture Recompression is checked. On top of that, Ryujinx says they've got a work in progress right now to boost performance for Bayonetta 3 and a whole bunch of other games, so keep your eye open for that. As soon as I know more, you'll know more. On top of that, for those who use Yuzu, at this point in time, Bayonetta 3 is not working on it, but the devs are hard at work to make the game work on it. Next up, I've got a quick and fun one for you with NES emulation on PC and smolNES, and this one is crazy. It's an NES emulator in less than 5,000 bytes of C++. smolNES is free, it's open source, and I'll leave a link to the GitHub in the description below in the event that you do want to check it out. It's compatible with a whole bunch of NES games, and at this point in time it only works on Linux and Mac. But I think in short order it'll also work on Windows. And the controls on this one are also pretty simple. Next up here, if you're a fan of PlayStation 2 emulation and you're looking for texture packs, GBA Temp might have you covered. I'll leave a link to this thread in the description below and feel free to check it out. They've got a whole bunch of texture packs here for a whole bunch of different games. Moving on, and we're talking about the Steam Deck, and this is kind of just good for Linux in general. There's a brand new version of Proton Experimental that just released yesterday, and it makes a whole bunch of games now playable. So in this list of now playable games, we've got One Piece Pirate Warriors 4, Persona 5 Royal, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, and Gotham Knights. On top of that, there's been a bunch of fixes, including games like Jurassic World Evolution 2 and Halo Infinite. Honestly, this is a huge leap forward for Proton, gaming on Linux in general, and the Steam Deck. This is serious stuff, this is a huge update, and I'm really excited that they got it. Last but definitely not least, well, maybe least depending on how you look at it, we're talking about gaming leaks. The second one is a doozy. The first one here, Sonic Frontiers, appears to be available in the public. Apparently some mom and pop shops have gotten the game early and, well, released it. The game isn't supposed to come out until November 8th, and I'm not surprised now to see this game in the wild, and Check on YouTube, I'm certain there's going to be a lot of game footage posted soon. And speaking about gameplay footage, this is a doozy. God of War Ragnarok is not supposed to release until November 9th. But people have already gotten their hands on copies of this game and have already started posting footage online. I have no idea how long this footage will stay up before it's taken down, but more and more footage is going to start showing up, so if you're trying to avoid spoilers, maybe just try to avoid searching for God of War Ragnarok. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. I talked about a whole ton today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos, don't tempt fate, save your state.